Great to have you with us. Now, in our first story, an Accra High Court has handed the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association of Ghana 3 days to file additional arguments. This is in the case seeking to prohibit the multimedia group from broadcasting a story detailing alleged plain theft of cocoa beans. The documentary, which was due for broadcast in February this year, has been on hold as the cocoa buyers have described the documentary as containing unfair and unverified allegations of crime made against the companies. They are asking that the court awards them a cost of 1 million cedis and restrain the multimedia group from ever airing the documentary. Now, joining us, Joseph Akabley was in court and joins me in studio for more. Joe, how did the argument pan out in court today?
So what we need to understand is that when we had mentioned that we'll be broadcasting that particular documentary, they took the matter in court, saying that the court should injunct the multimedia group from broadcasting that documentary. Multimedia, through its lawyers, filed a counter-suit saying that the court should dismiss the application for injunction. Now, both parties have filed their arguments, went to court today. Then their lawyer tells the court that, when we filed our arguments asking that their injunction application be dismissed, they had identified certain things that they want to respond to, so they want to be allowed some time to file that. And I was at that point that the multimedia's lawyer, legal team led by Samson Ladi Ayenini, had some concerns. His main argument was that this was something that should have been aired as far back as February. You've brought the matter to court. In fact, the first day it came to court, the lawyer had told them that they could file their response that very afternoon. Yet the issue has dragged on. We come back to court and you are now asking for more time to file those additional arguments. So he feels the court should not grant them the request. But the judge thought otherwise and said that, it's only in the interest of justice and he is committed to a speedy case. So if they are able to file within 3 days, the multimedia group also has 3 days to file additional arguments if it finds it necessary, after which on the 18th, if he is satisfied, he can pronounce his ruling, or if he's not, he will take a short adjournment and give his ruling.
So the multimedia group's lawyer, Samson Ladi Ayenini, did not want them to be given an extra 3 days?
His concern was that, you've been given enough time. In fact, he didn't even think that they need to come to court because the last case was a month ago. So if you had further arguments, you could have filed it. But the judge agreed with them that they think sometimes you need to come and ask permission from the judge before he grants you the permission to go ahead and file those documents.
Now that this has been done, at what point do we estimate that we'll see resolution in this case?
So we can expect the first 3 days, at least starting from today. We expect their legal team to file the arguments against the multimedia group. Multimedia, if the lawyers feel or deem it appropriate to respond, they can also respond. So that will be 6 days. After 4 days, then making 10 days, the court will be in session. That will be on the 18th of May. And on that day, the judge will decide whether he's ready with his ruling or not. So once that is done with, then we can expect whether the documentary will be aired or not. That is the question that most people are asking.
Exactly. And so we'll soon know. Thank you very much, Joseph Akabley. Let's move to other issues now. And Foreign Minister Shirley Ayoko Botchwey has described as criminal foreigners holding Ghanaian passports under illegal means. But equally worrying for her is the lack of prosecution when such persons are arrested and taken to the police. The minister, who went on an unannounced visit to the passport office, was also unhappy with the large number of people who had come to the office for their passports. Let's join my colleague Elton John Brobe, who is on the phone lines with more. Elton, what else has the minister discovered at the passport office?
All right, so Daniel, like I said, this was an unannounced visit to the passport office, the one at Grace and the one at the Tema Station. Now, the minister wanted to familiarize herself with work at the two passport offices, which is also responsible for the issuance of passports for applicants who have applied for the Ghanaian passport. Now, interestingly, when we got there, because it was unannounced, the work was ongoing as usual. The minister was taking the process when she eventually made herself known to the passport officials. Issues about manual production of passports and the digital one, the challenges associated with both were made known to the minister. But, worrying for her was the fact that it's become a daily routine where foreigners attempt to secure Ghanaian passport. Now, he singled out one person at the Tema passport office who is very interested in the arrest of these individuals. Interestingly, according to her, when these individuals are taken to the police station, that's where the matter usually ends. The police do not process them for court. Sometimes they are left off and nothing is done about them. And for her, it is worrying because people risk their profession to arrest these individuals, and when they are taken to the police station, they are allowed to walk free. And because of that, it's giving them the zeal to always come to the passport office in search of a Ghanaian passport. That aside, issues about people who usually go to the passport office, sometimes they queue there from 3 a.m. with just the hope of being given the passport they've applied and are paid for, usually go home disappointed. Now, two individuals, luck shine on them today because their visits to the passport office coincided with the minister's visit, a gentleman and a lady. For them, they were given a tip to come for their passport as far back as November and December last year. But until the minister got there, they had not been given their passport. So when they saw the minister, they ran to her and then, laid bare their issues with the passport issuance. Within a matter of 10 minutes, they were given their passport because the minister was there. And the minister was not happy with the fact that the passport had been there and they would not be given to people who had applied and be given to come to the passport office for these passports. Now, going forward, he says that they are looking to expand the process leading to issuance of passports for the establishment of another office in Tema. And also there are concerns about whether we should extend the expiration of Ghanaian passport from 5 years to 10 years, something that her ministry is considering.
Right.
So that when you are giving passport, you have a longer span before you can go back for a renewal or a new one.
Elton, you mentioned that these people got their passports after 10 minutes.
Within 10 minutes, and for these people, they've been coming in and out of the passport office since November and December last year.
Did the officials at the passport office give any reason for the delay in giving them their passports?
Well, as usual, bureaucratic issues they explain, and reasons that you cannot even relate to for the fact that they are under resourced. Sometimes they have so many things they need to do. Going through some of these, backlog of passport always become an issue. But interesting, these people have been coming there since November, December last year. But the minister's visit paved the way for their passports to be looked at, and they were given the passport at that particular moment.
Interesting, Elton. After the minister made these observations, did she make any assurance that these issues would be addressed? Did she give any indication that she was going to put in measures to address these issues?
Yeah, key among them is to improve the online registration and the issuance of passports so that people do not go to the passport office. We want to, as much as possible, address the human interface. So the online, you go online, you apply for your passport. When it's ready, you go and get your TIN number and then go to the passport office and take it. The second issue is that they are seeking to establish passport processing centers at Tema in the north and in the western region and the central region as well, so that people don't have to travel all the way from outside of Accra to come to Accra for passport. They think that when that is done, it will lessen the pressure on the two producing passport officers, the Tema and the Ridge office, so that people can have their passports on time.
Right, thank you very much, Elton John Brobe, for that report. He's our presidential correspondent reporting there from the Foreign Affairs. Well, he was traveling with the Foreign Affairs Minister in that case. Now, the divisional chiefs in Ashanti say they will resist any attempts by any individual or group to denigrate Asantehene and his kingdom for political and other parochial gain. Bantamahene Bafo Osu Amankwetia VI warned that any act that seems to run down Otumfuo amounts to attack on the collective interests of the Ashanti state. He spoke with Ohiming Teria on Wednesday's outburst by Otumfuo at NPP executives over reported attempts by people close to government to pour scorn on Asante Mine and pitch him against the people of Achem.
NPP officials were at the Menchia Palace to pay homage to the Asantehene, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II. Acting General Secretary John Boadu sought Otumfuo's blessings in his bid to secure confirmation as General Secretary of the NPP. Led by Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah, the executives fell on their knees to apologize to the Asantehene. Asante chiefs are unhappy about what they say is vile campaign to run down the Asantehene and his kingdom. Bafo Owusu Amankwetia VI is spokesperson.
We heard Otumfuo yesterday, what happened at Menchia. I mean, it speaks volumes of whatever has been happening. But this is an issue that everybody knows about. And I believe that the time has come for Nananom to call a spade, because we believe that Otumfuo doesn't collect taxes in Ghana. Taxes are collected by the government, and these taxes are supposed to be used to improve infrastructure in the country. We are saying that we are not getting our fair share. So if you sit somewhere and think that it's Otumfuo who has to repair roads, and for that matter, you can go about saying anything about Akin, it's something that we will never tolerate. So I think what happened at Menchia yesterday, I mean, we think that Otumfuo has spoken. And he has, expressed his feeling on this matter in a very, very serious manner. And I hope that people are going to take cue and going to show the respect that is due Menchia. For us, there's only one king, is the Asantehene. That is what we know. If somebody is trying to put a certain chief above Asantehene, fine. Me, I don't want to know. Because we Ashantis, our loyalty goes to our king. We protect him with all our might. And we make sure that his will always prevails. So that is Ashantis. He tells us to sleep at 6 a.m. You come to Kumasi, nobody gets out after 6. That is the respect we give to our king. That is our loyalty to our king. If you play with an Ashanti, you can do everything with an Ashanti, but don't play with a king. That area, when you try to go to that area, you'll be in trouble.
He also hit back at critics who accuse Otumfuo of doing little to develop Ashanti region. He says despite funding constraints, the Asantehene has made strides in education infrastructure, teacher support and scholarship for the needy across Ghana. Therefore, Amankwatia says it is unfair to demand so much from the king who taxes no citizen.
Our king is above all these things. Taxes are collected by the government. The cocoa that we produce in Ashanti region, government collects them and sells them. Our gold, they come, they collect our gold, they sell our gold. The money is not given to Otumfuo. It's the government who collects the money. So it behoves on the government to make sure that Ashanti gets its fair share of the national cake. That is what we are saying. So if somebody sits somewhere and says that it's Otumfuo who has to repair our roads, it's Otumfuo who has to, see to our general infrastructure, it's Otumfuo who has to see to education, then I don't know what that person is talking about. Look at the contribution that is done for education. Because of Otumfuo, so many people who couldn't get money to go to school, to pay for their school fees, Otumfuo, through his education fund, has made these things possible. Now, what he's even doing, that, he has decided not to go public on it, is about this mobile education. Otumfuo has got tracks that is going around Ashanti region, villages, teaching the children how to use a computer, putting up buildings. All these things Otumfuo is doing out of his own pocket. So what do you want him to do again?
From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohime Interior.
Now, the Pharmacy Council says its investigations have revealed wanton abuse of codeine cough syrup by the youth in Ghana. Regional Director of the Christian Council of the Council, Christian Trebi Kwao, tells Love News their findings indicate a combination of codeine and tramadol in some parts of Kumasi. Let's go to the phone and speak with Joy News' Erastus Asaridonko for more. Erastus, tell us more about this latest revelation by the Pharmacy Council.
Well, so the Pharmacy Council today called all the over-the-counter medicine practitioners together, over 700 of them, gathered here, and they are trying to educate them on the sale of tramadol. It was there that we were able to have some information to the effect from the regional director, that is Christian Kwao, that their investigations in some parts of Kumasi, especially Bantama, indicate that the youth are mixing codeine cough syrup with tramadol, and they are using it right here in Ghana. And so they have teamed up with the various agencies to try to nip this in the bud. We are learning from our interaction with them and the National Registrar that 25 pharmacies and 52 over-the-counter shops have been found culpable, and they will be hauled before a disciplinary committee soon and will be sanctioned accordingly.
Right, thank you, Asisa Sardonko, for that report. Now, moving on. You're still watching Joy News today. I am Daniel Dazi. We'll be back shortly. Thanks for staying with us. Now, provision livestock and foodstuffs are the first things that come to mind when one thinks of a market. But a place where you will find some rather peculiar things like dead monkey heads, chameleons, and the likes, the new talk of town. Joy News' Ruby Boafo reports about a section of the timber market here at the heart of Accra where those dead animal parts are sold.
Inside Timber Market, everything looks like any other market in Ghana, but as you walk through the alleys and past the usual food items and other wares on display, you may find this weird part of the market. At this small corner of the market, some traders are selling some strange items like dead frogs and dead chameleons.
My grandmother used to sell this during the Nkrumah regime. We used to be at the Makola No. 2 market, but we had to be relocated here because of the strong smell of our products. Initially, this place used to be a cemetery, but had to be converted into a shopping center due to our relocation.
Auntie B, a 66-year-old trader here. She has been selling here for a long time. At 12 years, she started selling these unusual items to some interesting patrons of the market.
No, me been I can buy 12 years.
I was 12 years when I started helping my mother. With this business, we have all kinds of herbs to treat any kind of illness. Aside the herbs, I also sell some animal parts.
Timber Market is located in the center of Accra. The items sold at this market are not the regular vegetables, fruits, meat, among others. Hajia also sells similar products. She has been in the business for 30 years. As strange as these items are, so are the sources. Hajia and her friends have suppliers who get them these items from all over the country and sometimes from Togo and Benin.
I've been in business for good 30 years. And we started with herbs, fever, gonorrhea, and this thing. And we are dealing with part of herbalist medicine.
But who really buys these items? Hajia and Auntie B are careful about telling us about what kind of people usually walk into this part of the market to buy a piece of thunderstone and what on earth they might be used for. But Hajia is quick to explain what this doll can do for women who have no children of their own.
What I'm using, they call it twins gauze, but especially for twins. During the Omowo festival, they normally use it. And some people use it for love. Maybe male and female, if you are against, you can use it against or support in love. It is especially is for the twins, male and female. But this one is double-headed. You see the way I'm all, is double. So this is female with double head. This one is male with double head. If they are male twins, you can use one for the two. If it's existing, you can use this one will be in the front. But the one that is not existing will be at the back. Some people have the pocket one, the smallest one. They take it to office. Some dress it and put it in front of them as partner. But he or she is no more. So we normally give it to them. Some decorate it and take it along with them. This thunderstorm. Some use it for bathing. And they use it to, I don't know. This one I can't explain better. But what I know, some people use it for bathing. That's how we are selling it.
Hajia says this business has impacted on her life positively as it has helped her cater for her children up to the university level.
My children graduated from the lodge. I thank God. It's okay. And our mother too brought us from this very lodge. It's a blessing.
Weird or not, so long as there exists a need for such items, Hajia and Auntie B will always be in business. This sale of herbs and animal parts is good business for them, something they want to do for a long time. Ruby Boafo reporting for Joy News.
Next time you need to buy a chameleon head or a doll, you know where to go. Now, a heap of refuse collected on the premises of the Health Ministry for 2 weeks has left the area reeling with a pungent smell. Plastics, paper and other waste materials have blocked an area close to the estate office. Estate manager Paul Chotome says the company responsible for the collection has defaulted for 2 weeks. He tells Joy News the waste collection company Jacora Ventures has been urged to collect the refuse by close of the week.
This is not a landfill site or anything of the sort. This is a portion of a Ministry of Health here in Accra where a heap of refuse has collected over here for the past 2 weeks. We understand from the estate manager that the company responsible for collecting this particular waste has defaulted for 2 weeks. And for the past 2 weeks, individuals who work around there keep dumping their refuse here day in, day out. He tells me, Mr. Paul Chotome, who is the estate manager here, tells me that the company, Jacora Ventures, has assured that by close of week, they will have collected the refuse that has been heaped here for the past 2 weeks. But it appears the company is yet to carry out its mandate. So plastic waste, rubber waste, paper waste, organic and inorganic waste collected just right by the end of the Ministry of Health building. Estate manager Paul Chotome has confirmed to me that the company responsible for collecting the refuse will be here to collect the refuse. So that's the situation here at the Ministry of Health premises. Paul Chotome, who is the estate manager, tells me or has been assuring that this refuse will be collected by close of week. It remains to be seen if indeed Jacora Ventures, which is responsible for collecting the heap of refuse from here, will carry out this particular mandate by close of week.
Now, passwords for modern gadgets like phones and computers have become essential parts of many individuals. For many reasons, people cannot do away with them. But have you ever thought of finding yourself in an emergency when you have no form of identification card and your phone has a password? As World Password Day is observed today, Love FM's Anita Sewa Ajoga explores the complexity of identifying people in times of emergency.
How often do you carry your ID card around?
Normally I don't carry it along with me. Only when I'm going to do something special with it, that's why.
I don't really use my ID card.
I don't really carry it along. I don't feel the essence of carrying it along with me, so I don't carry it.
50 unidentified bodies were scheduled for mass burial in the June 3 flood and fire disaster. On November 2017, the police carried out another mass burial for unidentified bodies. 7 days ago, another 120 bodies were buried by the police. The police hospital encouraged members of the public to develop the habit of always having identification cards on them. It is, however, obvious many people see no essence in carrying identification cards. They are expected to carry along at least a formidable identification gadget, a mobile phone. So do you have a password on your phone?
Yes, I have a password.
Yeah, I have password on my phone.
More password on the phone, sir.
So how do you want to be identified in case of emergency or accident?
So I don't think in case of an accident of something of that sort, you could just identify anything out of it.
Oh, okay, because we won't be me password. This is Nyame.
It will be very difficult to identify me.
Meet bar owner Ya Amponsa. She's a native of Adansi Ekrofom. Yes, I knew that even before asking her. The reason why I have this name tattoo is due to an accident that occurred at Dunkwa Amponyasi. And the only people identified were those with the name tattoo. So their families came for the bodies. The rest of the unidentified victims were buried in one pit. First of all, the ink is used in writing your name. Then the needle is used in pricking you for the medicine to penetrate into the body. Sometimes she gets incensed with it because it makes her easily identifiable. The only problem I have is when I'm easily identified by strangers. So I then ask the person, where do I know you from? Only to realize it's due to the tattoo I have on my arm. How would you want to be identified in times of emergency if you don't have your ID card on you and you have a password on your phone? Maybe the name tattoo should be revisited. Reporting for Joy News, Anita Sewa Ajoga.
Interesting ideas from Anita there. You're still watching Joy News today. It's now time for business. Stay with us.